Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I'm Theo. As always, I'm joined by Nick, and this is the podcast, the Drafted Up podcast. And today we're going to recap week 4 for you visual people. You saw the balloons when Nick gave a little
I don't even know what I
piece, so
did.
audio folks are just like, okay, cool. So yeah, week four's in the book, so we're gonna go over that, and then we're gonna end the show with our power rankings, give you our top 5 teams, as we now about a quarter of the way into the season here. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Can't complain. Chilling. Week 4's in the books. Ups and downs as always for the fantasy world as always, and we'll get there talking about the Seattle game later, but I scored the craziest dub in fantasy in our home league, and I don't even know how it happened. Seattle got a safety with 2 minutes left in the game, and it got me the win. I was in bed.
Yeah. Man, my home league team is
you and I are sitting top of the board, dude.
Situation. I've broke 180 or close to 180 every week, except the week I lost where I only scored 90 points.
Yeah, you're sitting pretty at the top spot, and somehow I'm in second.
I'm just
should
here.
Not be in second place with the team I have. My team is horrendous. But
your
hey, man,
not that bad.
My team's bad. When Cooper Kupp and AJ Brown come back, hopefully my team will be fine.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here unable to start Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, I would kill. He'd be my number 1.
Yeah,
so I got my receivers are weak.
I'm pretty sure I have 6 receivers in the top 18 of PPR.
Jealous.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Oh yeah, we're also gonna talk about Thursday Night Football because I definitely forgot, and so did Nick.
Indeed.
Every week, baby, we just forget that game exists.
Oh, this coming up Thursday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, wow. We always forget about that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I think it's Atlanta versus Tampa Bay.
It is.
Yeah, all right. Let's start with last Thursday's game. You're New York Football Giants.
I'd rather not.
Lost to the Cowboys 20-15 in kind of a uneventful game. I stopped watching at halftime. It just didn't hold my interest.
I watched the whole thing as a Giants fan.
Well, yeah, I have no pie in that game, so Dak Prescott had a nice little game, 22 of 27, 221 for 2. Rico Dowdle, it looks like he has taken over this backfield. It is his now.
100%.
11 carries, 46 yards. He also had a 15-yard touchdown catch, so he had a nice little game there. Big game from CeeDee Lamb. That's what we've been waiting for anyone that has their share of CeeDee. It's been pretty uneventful so far, but 7 grabs for 98 yards and a touchdown. Also had 3 carries for 8 yards.
That was all at halftime. He literally had that at half. Yeah. So he literally had that in 2 quarters of football, and then Dallas just stopped using him. I don't know if Dallas stopped using him or if we adjusted or...
Yeah,
I don't know what really happened, but CeeDee had a crazy first 2 quarters.
And then Jake Ferguson also for the Cowboys, just doing the Lord's work at the tight end position, 7 for 49, which you'll take any day with the tight end landscape. And then the Giants, just if it wasn't Malik Neighbors or Wan'Dale Robinson, you were let down. Malik, 12 catches for 115 yards. This dude is a superstar. He leads the rookies in yards. He's got like 370, and then Brian Thomas Jr. is second with 275. So he's got 100 yards on the next guy as a rookie. And then Wan'Dale, PPR machine, 11 grabs for 71 yards. I've never seen someone really so ineffective with his catches. I don't know what's going on there.
He was driving me insane watching it. Like, if he would have just broken a tackle once or twice, he could have had a touchdown multiple times. Like, there are 2 plays in specifically that happened. 2 different touchdowns he could have had. Just break a play, make something happen, dude. Like, get yards after the catch. Stop going down. Do something with the ball. Make yourself useful, dude.
Yeah, it's so strange because like Wan'Dale was a yak guy in college, and like in the NFL, this has just been the story of his career so far. He's sure-handed. He hauls in a lot of grabs, but he doesn't do anything yardage-wise with them. It is definitely like frustrating. And then Darius Slayton had a fine game, 3 for 56. I beg the New York Giants to get Jalen Hyatt involved. Like, see what you got with this dude. Like, you know what you have in Darius Slayton. He's fine, but Jalen Hyatt could be an elite burner deep threat, and we'll never know because you guys just refuse to put him on the field. And maybe they do know, maybe they see it in practice that the guy's just cheeks. But I would love to see, like, you guys aren't going anywhere. I would love to see Jalin Hyatt get some involvement here in the back end of the season coming up.
He came in and had one target, I believe, and it was literally the Hail Mary.
It was the Hail Mary, yeah.
Yeah, because Malik Neighbors wasn't on the field. He has a concussion. That's the only reason Malik didn't get the target at the end. Like, it wasn't going to go to Jalin Hyatt regardless, but it had to because he's the burner at that point. But we talked about this all offseason. Like, I told you Slayton was going to be on the field constantly, and he still is. Like, he's still going to be that guy. Jalin Hyatt's probably not going to get a chance at all in this offense. He's going to be phased out. He already has been. But Wan'Dale's a pretty good start flex-wise in PPR leagues.
PPR, yeah. Yeah,
he's gonna really shit the bed going up against the number one rush defense in football, and like bad wise, like Dallas was the best matchup possible,
giving up the most amount of points from the runners.
And Singletary went out there and had 14 carries for 24 yards. Like, he shit the bed, dude. It was bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Danny Jones looked fine. Like, we just couldn't finish our drives. We kept getting to the red zone, and we finished with 5 field goals on the day. That's not going to win you games, but we had a chance to win this on the last drive. Twice, like the second to last drive, we had the ball twice with 4 minutes left, and we couldn't finish drives. Like, it's our fault. We lost this game. Dallas almost handed it to us, and we couldn't finish any type of opportunity.
Did Neighbors practice at all? I know you said he brought up his concussion. I don't know if any reports have come out today if he was still in protocol or if he hit the practice field.
Nope.
Okay, but the extra time there.
I was gonna say we have
getting
the long
it on
10
a
days.
Thursday. Yeah, so I would expect him to play, but he's someone to keep an eye out. And
most of the time, you miss the next week when you have a concussion. So even with the 10 days, it wouldn't surprise me if he does miss next week. Wan'Dale's a pretty good start, but other than that, Singletary you have to watch with at this point.
Is he though? Because with Neighbors not there, like, the targets are going to Wan'Dale Robinson, and then I feel he's just completely ineffective. If he is the focal point of the passing game,
he's still going to get like 8 catches.
Yeah, I suppose an 8 for 40 isn't out of the picture. I would expect Darius Slayton to be more involved.
I'm not comfortable starting that guy. He's going to be good for, I don't know, dude.
And then
personally, I would not start Slayton. But
the Dallas side,
we're
out on Brandon Cooks. Yeah. I know I am.
Yeah, for the most part at this point.
I think that dude's washed at this point. I don't know.
They're passing the ball to so many other options.
Yeah, like Jalen Tolbert's outplaying this dude right now. So I would, if I had any stakes in Brandon Cooks, I'd cut ties. Moving on to the Saints and the Falcons. The Falcons hit a game-winning field goal to win this game, 26-24, improving to 2-2. In New Orleans has fallen back to earth at 2-2, and the Saints offense is back to being a frustrating bit. But Chris Olave had a nice game, 8 catches on 10 targets for 87 yards. Rashid Shaheed also 8 catches for 83 yards on 11 targets. So they're spreading the ball around, which is a little frustrating. If you drafted Chris Olave in the second round, you don't want to see that. But it's good to see that both these guys were able to be focal points and show off and produce instead of just having to pick whichever one was going to have the big game this week.
It's a weird game for Shaheed, too. It's very rare that he has 11 targets, and he brought in 8 of them. Like, that's a great game for a PPR receiver. And that's not the kind of receiver he is. He did, yeah. But you love to see the 8 catches, 11 targets after a game he pretty much goose-egged, I think. He goose-egged week 3, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big thing. And he played the most snaps he has all season. He played 77% of snaps. So Shaheed's still a really good flex option.
Yeah, and despite their production, Derek Carr was irrelevant. 28 for 36, 239, threw an interception. Taysom Hill had 2 touchdowns. He also got banged up, too, again.
How about Kamara, though, baby?
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, consistent again, 19 for 77, and another touchdown, 7 grabs for 42. Yeah, he is absolutely balling out right now. If you were redrafting right now, where would you draft Kamara 1-1?
No, I'm taking Barkley 1.
You take Barkley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kamara's right there, though. Kamara's right there.
Yeah, like
Kamara's this is prime Kamara. We're getting prime Kamara, prime Barkley. Like, it's great to watch these guys play.
Yeah, Kamara would definitely be a first round pick.
100%.
I think I would lean towards the receivers though. Maybe Nico Collins or Malik Neighbors.
There's a lot of receivers where I think I would lean Barkley, Kamara. After that, though, it becomes the receivers, I think.
Yeah. And from Atlanta, Bijan Robinson, 7 for 28, 4 for 46. This game felt like an Arthur Smith game.
It did.
Like, Tyler Algier was getting as much involvement as Bijan. He was 8 for 60. So he was way more efficient, and he had 2 grabs for 20 yards. Like, these were the things that were frustrating when Arthur Smith was there, was the split between those two. Kirk Cousins, just like Derek Carr, was irrelevant. 28 for 35, 238 and 1. And then receivers like Drake London, he's been playing well, 12 targets. You love to see that, but 6 for 64, it's not what you drafted him to do.
No.
Mooney and McLeod had fine games. They were 3 for 56, and then McLeod 6 for 52. But
Ray McLeod should probably be rostered.
Yeah,
right?
he should be, like, at least keep him on your radar, even if it's just stash for a week. Like, I think he's like the new Zay Jones. Like, I think he's just going to be spot started a bunch.
He's very
with bye weeks coming up. Like, you could probably plug him in, be fine in PPR situations.
I would plug him in for PPR for like bye week starts. He's very Darnell Robinson. What's the guy for the Rams?
Demarcus
Robinson. He plays almost 100% of the snaps. He's played in 100% of the snaps week 2, 95 week 3, 98 week 4. So like. And then he's just getting used because he's on the field a bunch, and Kirk just passes the ball a bunch, and Kyle Pitts isn't going to be the option, apparently. He goose-egged.
Ray McLeod's getting used, and Kyle Pitts is not, and that's why. Kyle Pitts, a 0, a dud on 3 targets. Frustrating situation, the tight end position. You really can't, like...
It's going around, dude.
I would get, like, wanting to get rid of Kyle Pitts, but, like...
You can't.
I'd rather... settle for the Kyle Pitts goose egg than pick up Jonnu Smith and get 3 points from him.
100%. I would rather roll the dice with Kyle Pitts than these free agent tight ends, because no one's going to trade for Kyle Pitts at this point. Like, Jake Ferguson is just a really consistent tight end, and other than that, there's not much more consistency going around. It's crazy. Brock Bowers is fine, but we'll get the Oakland.
Young Wei Koo was the superstar for the Falcons. He had Young Wei Koo you're happy for. 4 for 4 on field goals, 2 over 40, 2 over 50. He had both his extra points. A great game from Young Wei Koo and the game winner there. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals finally got their first dub, upping themselves to 1-3, beating Carolina 34-24. Joe Burrow looked great. 22 for 31, 232, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Also had a nice little 10-yard scramble there. And then the running, like Cincinnati, like you guys won the game because you guys had an effective run game. Both Cincinnati running backs looked great. Chase Brown was 15 for 80 with 2 touchdowns. He also had 2 catches for 12. And then Zach Moss was 15 for 51. He had 4 grabs and a receiving touchdown on top of that for 27 yards. Like, getting them involved, and you're balancing this offense, and that's what Joe Mixon did there. It opened everything up for the Bengals, and I'm glad that they finally decided to, like, and it's like a true split right now. Like, if Chase Brown's out there on your waivers, you should be snagging him up because he's playing just as much as Zach Moss right now.
Definitely. I was very lucky to get him in 2 leagues before this week. I seen he was cut, and I'm like, I'll still take the shot on Chase Brown. I'm not high on him, but he's still going to be a running back that has a chance to be used in an elite offense. And now look what happened this week where Chase Brown and Zach Moss both went off. It's not going to happen every week, but it's going to happen often because these guys are in elite offenses. So it's nice to see Jamar Chase get in the end zone. It's nice to see the rushing game open up. So Cincinnati, keep this shit going.
Yeah, Jamar Chase looked incredible. 3 for 85, 1 touchdown. Big catch. He had
T. Higgins
75 yards.
6 for 60?
Yeah, T got 10 targets, 6 for 60. Yoshi Voss, 1 for 29. I imagine, I'm not moving on from Yoshi Voss yet, but I'm putting him in that same category as like Ray McLeod. I think he's a fine spot start. Cincinnati always utilizes 3 receivers.
I agree.
And then I would keep an eye on Eric All. 3 straight games, with 4+ targets. He was 4 for 28, uneventful. But if he's going to be the tight end in this offense, like Mike Gesicki, if you're in PPR, he had -9 receiving yards and he outscored Kyle Pitts because he had 1 catch.
Yeah.
But Eric All's a guy to keep an eye. I wouldn't stash him just yet, but keep watching. Like, I imagine, like, he's healthy. Like, we loved his tape. Like, our big concern was just the matter of fact that he's always hurt and, like, serious injury, like in a back, in a neck.
Yeah.
But if he's out there and he's getting more and more percentages of snap, like, he could find his way into a streaming tight end at this point just because of how weak the position is.
I mean, people talk about Zach Ertz as a streaming option in Washington. And a lot of weeks, Zach Ertz is really good for 4 for 40. And that's what Zach Ertz gets. And Eric All's out here getting 4 for 30. So 4 for 40 is in the realm of possibility for that. So definitely keep an eye on him.
Yeah. And then Carolina, the offense is much better with Andy Dalton. They're looking like a professional team. Dalton was fine. 25 for 40, 220, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Chuba Hubbard, he's looking great.
This is what
he's on a 3-game burner right now. 18 for 104, touchdown, had 4 grabs for 17. And then Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette. Whoo, baby. They're both startable. Legette, especially with Thielen out, he had 10 targets. He hauled in 6 of them. He had his first career touchdown, 60 yards. He also had 2 carries. And then Deontay, 13 targets, 7 for 83 and 1. Like, these guys are flex options, wide receiver 2s at this point.
Oh,
with Dalton, as long as Dalton's the quarterback.
It's always going to be Deontay Johnson's a safe start, 100% right now, as long as Andy Dalton's the quarterback.
Andy Dalton.
But then whenever Thielen comes back, it might hurt Legette a little bit. I would be weary when Thielen comes back to start either of those two right away, not knowing which way the targets are going to go. But as long as Thielen's out, I'm starting both of these guys. I happen to start Legette in our home league this week because I'm really short on receiver. Paid off, dude. Like, I got lucky.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think Legette would be the one who reaps when Thielen comes back. I think Deontay will be fine. I think he keeps starting.
Deontay's 100%. That's what I'm saying. Deontay's safe regardless. But I would actually lean Thielen over Xavier Legette when Thielen comes back.
I agree. Keep an eye on Jonathan Brooks. They haven't opened his practice window yet, but if he's out there and you have an IR spot in your league, snag him up. I know I have him in our home league.
Yep.
Just waiting for him. And he's one of the 6 running backs on my roster, and only one of them's good.
That's how my receivers feel.
Yeah, I got tons of those. The Rams and the Bears. Bears won 24-18, improving the 2-2. Rams fall to 1-3. Fucking DeAndre Swift, man. Yeah. We're out here saying, get rid of him. And he goes out, had a beautiful 50-yard run. Like, he looked like a completely different running back. And, like, he was hitting his holes, finding the lanes. You know, maybe he needed that boost of potentially losing his job to Roschon Johnson. 16 for 93 and the touchdown. 7 grabs for 72 yards.
That's a crazy
he looked great out
line.
there. Roschon had a touchdown, but other than that, that's what saved his day. 7 for 26. But the Bears' passing game was uneventful. Like Caleb Williams, 17 for 23, 157 and 1. DJ Moore only had 6 targets, 3 for 22 and a touchdown. Keenan Allen had 3 targets, 3 for 19. Cole Kmet, 3 for 34, which as a tight end you're thrilled about, but those are disgusting numbers.
Yeah.
And
Did you even bring up Rome?
No, like 1 for 10.
Yeah.
Like Keenan Allen being back essentially phases Rome Odunze out of this offense, and there's not enough to pass work to go around because Caleb Williams has been incredibly ineffective.
To go around for one receiver.
Yeah, because he can't go more than a few seconds without getting pressure because the pass protection's terrible.
Their line is so bad.
Yeah, if you can move on from DJ Moore and trade him if somebody wants him, or even package him with somebody else to upgrade,
do it.
I'd be trying to do that, but it's going to be a struggle going forward with the Bears offense, and the Rams offense is essentially Yeah, it's pick and choose the receiver and try to hit, but it's Kyron Williams, 19 for 94 and a touchdown, 4 grabs for 10 yards. Matt Stafford couldn't get it going, 20 for 29 for 224 and an interception. He also had a fumble.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, Tutu Atwell was,
I was going to say,
4 for 82. He looked fine.
Really nice the last 2 weeks, and even the week he had to come in for injury. He played nice the back end of the week, too, and then 3 and 4, he's been really solid.
And then Jordan Whittington led the team in targets with 8. He was 6 for 62. And then DeMarcus Robinson, who's just on the field running cardio, 2 for 37. You can move on from him. I'm also kind of out on the Rams receivers just because Tutu seems to be the safe one, but maybe next week's a Jordan Whittington week. Who knows? I'm
cool with Tutu Atwell.
And
two good games. He played 80%. He played 90% of snaps this week.
Maybe even Colby Parkinson. 4 for 33, 7 targets though. If you want to play that game, but I feel if the Rams get stuck playing a really good defense with a great pass rush, Colby Parkinson's going to be relegated to a blocking role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they play Green Bay next week, and Green Bay is an elite, high-powered offense with Jordan Love back there. We've seen it already. He took no time to get back to where he was week 1. So Tutu Atwell and Kyron are starts for me this week.
Yeah, and then Chicago, are you
I don't have any bit of Swift in fantasy, so I don't have any input on that. But would you start him if you had him?
Who do the Bears got next week?
Carolina.
Oh, probably.
And then they got Jacksonville.
Chances are if you have DeAndre Swift, you probably have to start him.
I agree.
But it's how do you feel about the receivers? You're not going to bench DJ Moore? But, I'm out on Keenan Allen. I don't think Keenan Allen is worth starting.
First, DJ Moore's going back to Carolina next week. So next week's a revenge game for DJ Moore. So definitely don't bench him next week. And the week after that's Jacksonville. Jacksonville is horrendous. And then they got a bye week, but then they have Washington, Arizona, New England, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit. They have all green matchups in fantasy football.
Hope that, maybe if Caleb Williams can put it together, DJ Moore's a good play. DJ Moore's a great football player. I think DJ Moore
is the one I'm confidently playing, but the touchdown saved him. Without the touchdown, he would have had a bad game.
But I'm not starting goes off,
Keenan Allen or Rome.
Yeah. If he goes off these next 2 weeks, try to move him. See if you can get Brandon Ayuk, who's been disappointing, but I would rather roll the risk with him because he's got a competent pro quarterback right now.
I agree.
Or even, see if you can get Steph Diggs or someone. Someone who's just a fine fantasy option, not blowing anything up.
Diggs. I like Diggs.
Yeah. Next up, you brought him up, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. He did return, and the Packers fell short 31-21 to the only undefeated team in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were up 28-0, and then Brian Flores kind of, laxed up on his defense, and it got the Packers back in this game. The score much closer.
Doing that shit.
It wasn't. Usually it's the offense. Usually Kevin O'Connell plays super conservative.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Vikings in general just being very conservative.
O'Connell, he was still firing. He was trying to sling it around and move the offense, but it was Brian Flores who kind of pulled back on the defense, and it'll open things up for Jordan Love. 32 for 54, 389, and 4 touchdowns. Hey, that guy's really good at football.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then that, of course, opened up the receiving game. Jaden Reed, 7 grabs for 139 and 1. He also had a carry for 2 yards. But he's had 2 top 5 performances at the wide receiver position with Jordan Love. He's a must-start going forwards. Keep an eye on Dontavian Wicks. If Christian Watson's out, it looks like he's got a high ankle sprain, so you expect him to miss some time. Wicks had 13 targets. He had a 25% target share. 5 for 78 and 2 touchdowns. If he's out there on your waiver wire and Christian Watson's going to miss possibly 2 to 4 games, Wicks is a flex start. He 100%. Was out there, he's insanely talented. And I'd also say keep an eye on Tucker Kraft. Tight ends are bad.
Exactly.
He had 9 targets, 6 for 53 and a touchdown. He did fumble. He had a costly fumble there, Byron Murphy, with the strip of him on that final drive. But Tucker Kraft, he's taken over the tight end position. Luke Musgrave was involved, 3 targets for 13 yards, but he's the one here. And then the Packers running game couldn't get going. 9 for 51 for Jacobs, 4 for 27 through the air, but they had to abandon it being down 28-0 at going into the half. And then Emmanuel Wilson, 8 for 27. I'd keep an eye on Emmanuel Wilson if he's out there in your market. Like Matt LaFleur wants to run 2 running backs, and he was more effective than Josh Jacobs the week before. So he's going to get his share of work, especially with Marshawn Lloyd on IR and A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, there are going to be games where Wilson gets way more targets or carries an 8, but they abandoned the run game. Like Jacobs only had 9, he had 8, so he only had 1 less carry. So like they're equal carries almost. So it's going to be about who's more efficient. They're going to have swing games here and there, but like you said, with Watson going down, go grab Wicks. Like Wicks has been cut in most leagues, and he's had 2 big weeks out of the 4. So like, and then the other 2 games he's goosed. With Watson out, I don't think a goose is in the option. So I don't think his floor is as low as it has been, but his ceiling is. Last week he had 24 points. He had 2 tutties. He's a really good player. His separation's good, and Love loves Wicks. Like their connection is elite. So it wouldn't surprise me if him and Reed both finish wide receiver 2s on the week.
Yeah. And Romeo Doubs, he had 8 targets,
he's fine.
4 for 39. He's a good floor play. You're not going to get a ton of upside from him. And then Minnesota, how are we feeling about Sam Darnold? Is he starting Sam Darnold in fantasy now?
100%. He is a for sure starting quarterback. Every week, besides week 1, he's been a top 12 quarterback. Week 1, he was 14. And that's because you guys blew the fucking shit out of us. Like the Minnesota beat the hell out of the Giants to where you didn't need to pass after halftime.
Yeah.
So he finished top 14 in 2 quarters. So like Sam Darnold's a for sure lock in fantasy football this year.
Sam Darnold, the only quarterback in the NFL this year so far with double-digit passing touchdowns. He leads the league in that category then, obviously. But 20 for 28, 275, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 turnovers, but he's got juice. Like, he's got some confidence to him. Like, Kevin O'Connell's trusting him. This team's trusting him. Like, he's putting it together and, like, getting time to, like, sit down and, like, watch football for him has done him wonders. And it also helps to have, you know, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
But Aaron Jones,
another great week.
Looked great. Couldn't get a touchdown, which is a shame. Was really pulling for that. But 22 carries for 93 yards, 4 grabs for 46. Ty Chandler wasn't involved at all, and I wouldn't look too much into that. I think that was more Green Bay. It's in Green Bay, and they just wanted to get Aaron Jones just to rock them.
I agree. I think there was an Aaron Jones game. It was nothing against Ty Chandler, but he knew going into this game he was not getting the ball at all unless Aaron Jones was not on the field. Yeah. And Aaron Jones was on the field a whole bunch this game, and I love it, dude. Aaron Jones is back, dude. Like, he's so good this year. Your whole offense is really good. Your defense is probably the best in football, so I love it.
Jordan Addison came back, and he shined. Only had 4 targets, but
he's fast,
3
baby.
for 72 and a touchdown. He also had 1 carry for 7 yards and a touchdown. That just opens things up. Justin Jefferson had a beautiful touchdown grab. It was one of the prettiest catches I've ever seen.
Gorgeous.
And he's what great placement by Sam Darnold as well. It was just right through that.
It was on a line,
defenders, dude. And right in the Jordan Jefferson's bucket. But 6 grabs for 85 yards and a touchdown for Justin Jefferson. He's paying off. Jalen Naylor fumbled. His touchdown streak is over. He only had 2 targets, 1 catch for 31 yards. So as long as Jordan Addison's in there, you can move on from Jalen Naylor.
I'm so glad Addison was able to come back and just look every bit of Jordan Addison as he did with Kirk Cousins. It didn't miss a step. Sam Darnold stepped in there and hit him perfectly. It just shows how good Jefferson and Addison are, dude. Like, we can't forget that Addison was also a first-round pick. Like, he's so good, dude. And with this offense, they're shining, dude.
It's funny because Jefferson and Addison were the 4th receivers picked in their draft. And they're probably the best. Well, Jefferson for sure. For sure. I guess you could say CeeDee Lamb's the best, but Jordan Addison's better than Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't think there's a question about that at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the whole Jefferson CD thing, it's a huge debate. I lean the Jefferson side. Yeah. I would personally take Jefferson over any receiver in football.
But they're both better than Jalen Reagor, though.
100%. It's not even close, my guy. Not even in a debate.
I don't even know who the other receiver was who was picked in that draft.
Don't know.
Yeah, I think of it off the top of my head. But next up, Jacksonville and Houston. The Texans struggled there early on. They almost blew this game.
Yeah.
But got the win, game-winning touchdown to Dare Ogunbowale. Texans won 24-20, improving to 3-1. Jacksonville's bad. They're a bad football team. Doug Peterson's going to get fired.
He's on the way out.
As he should.
0-4. He's gone soon.
But man, they got their two receivers involved, and that's what we were asking. Christian Kirk had 12 targets, 7 for 61 and 1. Brian Thomas Jr., 9 targets, 6 for 86 and 1, and he almost had another touchdown. Trevor Lawrence overthrew him just a bit, and BTJ made an attempt to dive for it, but couldn't bring it in. But he roped that defender. It was a beautiful, shakedown on his part. And then Gabe Davis, one catch for -2 yards. He was completely irrelevant. And then for you Brenton Strange people, 3 grabs for 19. But man, Houston, Nico Collins is a superstar.
No Steph Diggs. So the receiving room, that's what I meant. I was looking at Steph Diggs' name here. So no Tank Dell. So the receiving room is only going to be Diggs and Collins. And like Diggs is good, but like Nico is just another level, dude. I think he's on pace for 2,000 yards. It's incredible. Like he's gonna finish wide receiver 1 in the year probably.
It was Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy were the other 2 receivers taking over Justin Jefferson.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but Nico Collins he's just good. 15 targets, 12 for 151 and 1. A superstar. He's out there is just ripping up defenses, and then Joe Mixon should be back next week, which will help things up. Like the Texans' run game couldn't get anything going. Cam Akers was 13 for 53. Ogunbowale had 2 carries for 7 yards, but he had 4 catches for 47 and 1. Like the Texans being down early, they kind of abandoned an efficient run game, which is why Ogunbowale got involved. He's the pass catching back there. CJ Stroud was 27 for 40, 345 and 2. Game. So yeah, we were looking for like CJ Stroud's just been hovering towards that low end QB1, high end QB2 early on here. This was a big game for Stroud and a big game for Houston because had they lost to Jacksonville, it would have stirred up something with how much hype this Texans team had in the offseason.
Yeah, if they would have let this slip, it would have been a really, really strong talk on what's going on in Houston. But now they're sitting 3-1. It's a pretty record. They don't have to worry. But Jacksonville's 0-4, dude. Like, you got to figure this out quick because I don't know what the problem is besides coaching because it's definitely not just all Doug Peterson. There's more than just him. Like in Philly, I think the problem's coaching. I don't think the problem is all coaching here in Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence almost looks unenthused. Like he's just there. And like I can't blame him. Like if somebody offers me a $200 million contract, I'm going to sign it.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
Like, and he said this coming into the league that like football's not overly important to him, and it like almost shows. Like he's playing fine, he's incredibly talented, but like it's almost like there's no drive for him to like get better or this team. And then where do you stand on their running backs? Like Tank Bigsby was 7 for 90. And then Etienne, he has a bum shoulder now. He's 11 for 50. Like,
he's playing through Peterson's
injuries. Doug Peterson's always bringing it up that he wants to lighten up the workload. Like, if Tank Bigsby's out there, like, he should probably be rostered.
Tank Bigsby should definitely be on rosters, and I'm still starting Etienne in the flex. Like, this is the first week he didn't break double digits, but he was only out there for 52% of the snaps. So, like, you really seen that he was working through an injury this week, to where the lowest before this week was 69. So, it fell by almost 20% of snaps. So hopefully he can just get healthy soon and be out there for 70%. And then he's still a really good start running back wise. But Tank Bigsby should be on rosters at this point.
How many more games do you think Doug Peterson makes it?
When's their bye week? 12. Oh, good God, man. They got Indy coming up, which is another division game. I honestly think he could be fired after that game. It's a division game. If they start 0-5, 2 division games in, you're not going to come back from that.
So after Indy, they got 2 straight London games against the Bears and then the Patriots.
Okay.
I don't know if firing a coach while being overseas makes a ton of sense, but shoot, if they lose to New England,
yeah,
you gotta let them go after that. But
yes,
maybe
because they got Green Bay, Philly, Minnesota, Detroit after that, and then the bye week, and then they got Houston again. Those are 5 really, really tough games. So,
like, dude,
Jacksonville's
they could be looking at the first pick of the draft.
I was just about to say they are in contention for the first pick of the draft. 100%.
Like, that's a brutal schedule. And if they get the first pick, they're firing everybody. Get new management and then figure out what you do, because they're not going to take a quarterback because they just paid Trevor Lawrence. So then you're looking at offensive linemen, and this isn't a strong O-line class. So, like,
there are a couple of linemen, though, that are towards the top of the board.
I don't think that are worth the first pick, though.
I mean, you're not going to go quarterback. But they do end with Tennessee, the Jets, Vegas, Tennessee in the stretch of the end. Those are all winnable games. Maybe not the Jets, but they could beat Tennessee and they could beat Vegas.
Yeah. For them, I think not getting the first pick is beneficial. Fall back, draft, as long as you're drafting above New England, which might be tough, get a lineman. Indianapolis, you brought them up. They got their first dub, or they got their second dub, sorry. They're 2-2 now. They beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was one of the undefeated teams, 27-24. Pittsburgh falls to 3-1. Anthony Richardson got hurt. Yeah. And he wasn't looking great to begin with. He was 3 for 71. 3 for 4, though. So, hey, 75% completion percentage. He hit Michael Pittman on a deep shot. That was nice to see. And 3 carries for 24, but he's got a hip injury and a weird play call. Like, he went down, got injured, and then missed a play, and then he came back, and then they ran an RPO, and he took off, and you could tell he wasn't right. He immediately went down and slid. And then Joe Flacco came in and managed the game. 16 for 26, 168 and 2 for Flacco. And if Flacco's there, Flacco plays next week. I'm in on Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. Josh Downs looked great with Joe Flacco.
100%.
9 targets, he hauled in 8 of them, 8 for 82 and 1. Yep. Michael Pittman, 6 grabs for 113. Like, great to see from Pittman, who hasn't broken like 40 yards at all this season.
Yeah. It's weird how Alec Pierce just becomes irrelevant with any quarterback in the system that's not Anthony Richardson. Like, it's so weird how no quarterback uses him, but it's kind of looking like Flacco might get the start next week. It's still not clear, but I'm starting Josh Downs and Pittman if Flacco's the quarterback. Like 100%. Both those guys are locks, especially with Jonathan Taylor being out. He's not hitting the IR, but he's probably not playing next week.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, high ankle sprain, so he likely does miss. He had a nice game, though, 21 for 88 for 1 touchdown, 3 grabs for 20. But if he is out, keep an eye and snag Trey Sermon, because this team loves that guy, and he's far and away the backup. Like,
Trey Sermon's a start.
Tyler Goodson ain't stealing work from Trey Sermon.
No, they play Jacksonville next week, so I'm happily starting the receivers. If Anthony Richardson plays, I'm even taking a chance on Josh Downs and Pittman still. I'm not going to be as high, but they're playing Jacksonville, dude. Like, Jacksonville lets up points. So Indy knows how to move the ball, not efficiently with Richardson, but if Flacco's in there, they'll move the ball great. So Trey Sermon will be fine. He's not going to be Jonathan Taylor, obviously, but he's still a flex start.
And Pittsburgh, Justin Fields had a field day, literally.
Great game.
He started slow. Like, it was looking rough. Like, he was looking like old Chicago Justin Fields, where it's just like, hey, man, like, Russ might be back next week, but 22 for 34, 312 yards and a touchdown, and then 55 on the ground for 2 more touchdowns. He didn't fumble. But Justin Fields, he's out here. He's got a better completion percentage than Jalen Hurts right now. Yeah. Like, he's low-key like a QB1 in fantasy. Like, if he's out there, you should be snagging him up and putting him in if you have, like, especially, like, Hurts. If you have Hurts, if he's on a bye this week, I'd be looking at Justin Fields. I think he's a great streaming option.
Yeah, they got Dallas next week. That's a big game. Their defense lets up points, so I think Pittsburgh has a chance to have a good fantasy week.
Yeah, George Pickens had 11 targets, 7 for 113. He had a costly fumble there. And, like, Pittsburgh almost won this game, and, like, Mike Tomlin, in classic Mike Tomlin fashion, that guy doesn't know how to, like, manage game clock and use his tight ends or timeouts. But like, there was a play they threw at the Najee. It was a 3rd down. And like they thought Najee got out of bounds, but his momentum was stopped before he got out. So they kept the clock running, and like they did a no huddle on 4th down. It's just like, call your timeout. There's 40 seconds left in the game. Call timeout and come up with a play. And it cost them the game. Like Pittsburgh could be sitting here 4-0, but Mike Tomlin kind of threw that one away there. But Najee Harris, he couldn't get it going against a bad Colts team. 13 for 19, 3 grabs for 54 yards. So it was nice to see him involved in the passing game, but
he's the only back in the backfield next week, though.
Yeah, not great when Cordarrelle Patterson was more efficient than you.
Patterson looked great, though, dude.
Yeah, 6 for
43, 2
really
grabs,
good when
19. He's needed to be in.
Yeah. Is he hurt that you said Najee's the only back?
Yeah, Patterson got hurt in the middle of the game.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, Patterson left the game, and then Najee was the only back in the backfield. So if that's the way, like, you have to start him, he's gonna get all the work. Yeah, Patterson's a long shot to play, so
yeah, Najee's a volume play, and you're
100%. George Pickens looking good though.
Yeah, Fields getting him involved. Freiermuth had a nice game too.
Yeah, for sure.
He's
get a tutty.
In a bad position. Freiermuth is a guy who likely could start. Like if you were a Mark Andrews owner or Kyle Pitts owner, if you can get Pat Freiermuth, I think I'd rather play him than either of those guys right now. Yeah, Andrews for sure.
Andrews for sure. I'm taking Freiermuth over. If I have Andrews, oh my God, you're not even going to get anything for him.
We'll get to Baltimore. A disgusting game. The Denver Broncos beat the Jets 10-9. Denver improves to 2-2. The Jets fall to 2-2, and there's some disarray in New York. Like Aaron Rodgers is throwing shade at the coaches, and the coaches throwing shade at Aaron Rodgers, and this could get ugly. Like Robert Saleh was just like, well, maybe if we weren't hard counting so much, like we wouldn't have had those penalties. And Aaron Rodgers was like, well, maybe if the lineman wouldn't false start on the hard count, we'd be fine. And then he apologized afterwards and said like he could probably tone it down a bit, but not what you want to hear. And like this game, fantasy wise, was disgusting.
Horrendous.
Bo Nix, 12 for 25 for 60 yards and a touchdown.
He had -7 passing yards at halftime. I didn't even know that was physically possible, to be honest.
Yeah, and then there was a scary situation with Tyler Bidet. He fumbled and got hurt, and then like collapsed on the sideline.
He like walked off the field. He looked fine, and then hit the sideline and just collapsed.
And Sean Payton says he's okay. It was just a back injury, so I don't know what happened.
I don't know if it was like a back spasm where he just couldn't walk or dehydration, it was very scary.
And Javonte Williams, 16 for 77, 2 grabs for 3 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, 9 carries for 46. Like both of them were efficient, which hasn't been at all like this season. So that kind of muddies things up again in Denver. Like, and then it was just Cortland Sutton in the pass game, 3 for 60 for a touchdown.
Yeah, Sutton's the only real receiver that should be rostered probably at this point from Denver. They're not really passing the ball enough to start any bit of receivers.
Yeah, and then the Jets, Rodgers 24 for 42. Breece Hall couldn't get it going. 10 carries for 4 yards.
Bad game.
This felt like a Zach Wilson Jets team. 2 catches for 14 on top of that for Breece. Braylon Allen was 8 for 34, and then Alan Lazard, Mike Williams led this team in receptions and receiving yards, and then Garrett Wilson was 5 for 41 with 1 fumble. Yeah, like we knew going in it was going to be a tough game for Garrett Wilson going up against Patrick Surtain, but if you're a Wilson owner, you got to be a little on edge right now.
Yeah, I'm not happy. His high on the season's wide receiver 29. That's not even a wide receiver 2. It's a flex option.
And that's been the story of his career at this point, though. He falls in that like 28 to 30 range.
Yeah, even last year he had a couple games where he was wide receiver. He had 7, 13, 16, 17. Like those games I'd be fine with, but he's not even getting that at this point. I don't know what's going on with Wilson. Obviously this week was bad because he had Patrick Surtain on him. Like you can cover that up. Next week they have Minnesota. You guys are a green matchup. They can't run on Minnesota. So Breece Hall, you better watch the fuck out again. Brees Hall will be very worried about the Jets in general running wise because they're playing Minnesota. They're just one of those teams you can't run against. It just doesn't happen. So we'll see if Garrett Wilson can get involved pass wise versus Minnesota.
Yeah. And Tyler Conklin, 4 grabs for 17 yards. I'd still keep an eye on him. Minnesota's a revenge game. Minnesota also gives up some points to the tight ends. Tucker Kraft ripped them up pretty good last week.
I mean, 4 catches is what you're looking. You're happy with 4 catches as a tight end in fantasy this year. Mm-hmm. So his yards can go up with 4 catches. So I'm still happy with it.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, they beat Philadelphia. They stomped them 33-16. The Bucs improved to 3-1. Philadelphia getting a much-needed bye week, going at 2-2. But Jalen Hurts couldn't get anything going. This offense is just sputtering. And I get it. Like, the weapons weren't there, but, like, the vibes, I keep bringing up, the vibes with Philadelphia are not good. Whether it is Nick Sirianni or the players, like, there's something wrong in Philadelphia, and this team worries me going forward.
Yeah, I'm worried about Sirianni per se, but it's not like the talent around him. I get Hurts is struggling, but you're going to struggle when you don't have A.J. Brown out there specifically. And then you also lost Devontae Smith. So AJ, like, I get why Hurts is struggling. There's a new offensive line in front of him. Lane Johnson was also missing. So we can't forget about one of the best tackles in football not out there protecting him. Like, I get people are saying, like, it looks like his pocket presence isn't there. But he's got a whole new line in front of him. He's got 0 weapons he's used to. So, and he's got also a new running back. We have to, like, remember, he's working with a whole bunch of new pieces around him. And a new offensive coordinator for the 3rd straight year in a row. So, I'm not worried about Hurts. I'm worried about Sirianni getting fired because at this point, he's the problem.
Well, that would be better for Philadelphia, though, if Sirianni got fired.
100%. At this point, he really doesn't do it. He doesn't do anything. He's the head coach. Yeah. Exactly.
He doesn't call plays. Like, the owners didn't let him pick his coordinators. Like, I don't know. It bothers me. Barkley was fine, though. 10 for 84.
Still good.
2 for 32 in the air. The Eagles passing game. Sans Dallas Goedert. Goddard was 7 for 62, which you'll take. Mm-hmm. Tight end 1 on the year. But Baker Mayfield.
Amazing. So good, dude.
He's so good, yeah.
I love Baker.
30 for 47, 347 and 2. He also added another touchdown on the ground. The run game was like a 50-50 split. Bucky Irving, 10 for 49. He got his first touchdown. 1 grab for 6. Rashad White, 10 for 49. 2 grabs for 35. The same stat line almost across the board. But White got the boost in the receiving game. Yeah. Where Bucky got the touchdown. But that's looking like a 50-50 split, but it could have been Rashad White. He was ill, so it could have just been from that. But we've been saying the last few weeks, roster Bucky Irving,
Bucky's been looking really good. Almost 5 a clip, him and White. It's nice when White's out there getting almost 5 a clip because it hasn't happened at all this year. That does not happen. So be very grateful for that. Hopefully he can get healthy, like physically wise. So White's still a really good start, and obviously Bucky is maybe a flex start at this point.
Yeah. Your start of the week, Mike Evans, did enough to make up for your start of the week, Kyle Pitts getting a goose egg.
He did.
But Mike Evans, 14 targets, 8 for 94 and a touchdown.
Dog.
You said it. The Eagles' secondary is bad, and Mike Evans ripped them up. And so did Chris Godwin, 6 for 69. You know, he's not going to get a touchdown every week.
Exactly.
But you'll be having that. Trey Palmer, he had a touchdown grab, 3 for 26 and a touchdown. No Jalen McMillan, which is why we saw a bunch of Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, he was activated before the game.
3 for 51 for Shepard. Then Cade Otton, 6 for 52, which you'll be thrilled about, but
you would have loved that.
Otton.
But yeah, who started Cade Otton? It was very weird as a Giants fan to see Barkley in a Phillies jersey and Sterling Shepard in the Bucs jersey, and it's all a weird vibe. I love both those guys, so I'm really happy to see them both still playing.
Maybe the hottest offense in football right now, the Washington Commanders, whooped up on the Arizona Cardinals, 42-14. Cardinals fall to 1-3. The Manders, the Big Howdies, up to 3-1. Arizona started hot. They scored the first drive. It's like, all right, here we go, we're cooking, and nothing from there. And Jaden Daniels is a freaking superstar.
Yep.
He's QB1 going into next season in my eyes. It's him and then Josh Allen.
it depends on what Buffalo does receiver-wise. If they continue to not have a standout number one, because Allen, look what happened again this week. He had under 10 points. He's going to have these weeks, and now it's 2 out of 4 weeks where Allen has had under 10 points because he's not needed per se. Jaden Daniels
he was needed a lot this week.
Well, yeah, but they're running the ball. But like Jaden Daniels is the Washington offense, and it's shown like he's so good, dude. That offense moves through that guy.
Yeah. This dude's completing 82% of his passes.
That's a record.
Starting off, 231 yards and a touchdown. Added 47 on the ground, another touchdown. Did throw an interception, but he was so good. And then Brian Robinson, he's
dog.
The running backs, like Austin Eckler's also been affected. He didn't play, and his replacement, Jeremy McNichols, came out and scored 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And he was 8 for 68. And then Brian Robinson, 21 for 101 and a touchdown, 3 grabs for 12. Like, he's a must start at this point. Like, he's been playing great.
To be. Yep.
Terry McLaurin's turned it on last 2 weeks. He got 7 for 52 and 1. If you hung on to McLaurin, you're happy because it's finally coming around. And then Zach Ertz, 3 for 22 and a 2-point conversion. But, tight end wise, like, you'll take that if you had to start Zach Ertz.
Fine with it.
But from Arizona, Kyler Murray, rough week, 16 for 22. He only had 1 touchdown. Couldn't get anything going on the ground. Yeah. Only 3 yards rushing. James Conner had a great game, 18 for 104 and 1. And then, Marvin Harrison, 5 for 45 and 1. But other than that, like, Michael Wilson fumbled. Greg Dortch had a great Dortch game, 4 for 38. Like, you could tell that they were missing Trey McBride.
Yeah, no Trey McBride was rough.
To trust in the middle of the field.
Yeah, you can't really use Marv everywhere, unfortunately. So Marv still had a nice little game. He had the end zone catch, which was gorgeous. It was a fingertip grab at the side of the end zone. Magnificent. But no, Trey McBee really hurt this offense. And, like, you've seen it with Kyler Murray, dude. Like, he had an okay game. Like, you need to have Trey McBride out there for this offense to really function. And Washington really took advantage of that. Like, their defense isn't a good by any means, but their offense is elite at this point. Cliff Kingsbury, good God, he's showing why people. He's such a good offensive coordinator, dude. Like, he's not a good head coach, but he's one of the better offensive coordinators, hands down. Yeah, I love Washington coach's staff. If people have been listening to the podcast the whole time, I've mentioned Washington's offseason countless times. Yeah, and it's really showing now, dude.
You got to figure Dan Quinn and Kevin O'Connell are the front runners right now for Coach of the Year.
It's Kevin O'Connell, for sure. It's Kevin O'Connell. Nothing against Dan Quinn, but it's Kevin
count
O'Connell.
Out Dan Quinn, though.
Not yet, but it's Kevin O'Connell. He lost a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, Niners improved to 2-2 with a 30-13 win over New England. New England 1-3. Fantasy-wise, Brock Purdy didn't do much. He was my start of the week, but 15 for 27, 288 and 1. He did have an interception. Jordan Mason, another great game, 24 for 123, 2 grabs for 37. Then the receiving crew, like Juwan Jennings, startable week, 3 for 88. Did you start him? I know you have him in the home league.
I did.
Deebo Samuel was back. He was 3 for 58, 2 for 14 on the ground. He was involved. And then Brandon Ayuk is 2 for 48. Like, he's too good to be this bad.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, dude. Like, he's still playing 80% of snaps and up besides week one. So
I think it's just getting back into football shape. Like, again, I think he's a huge trade for target.
I agree. I'm still very in on Ayuk. I've been all off season. I'm not out now because he's had a couple bad weeks to start the season. This offense is still crazy good. You just have to hope that Juwan Jennings kind of fades away. Like, if this guy ends up doing this all season, it's going to be a hairy situation for both these other receivers.
But, man, the Niners are going to need it, though.
I agree.
If Ayuk's not producing, they're going to need Juwan Jennings. So, and George Kittle's a man amongst boys, 4 for 45. His touchdown grab was incredible. That guy,
dog.
He's one of the few tight ends where you're just like, I got one of one right there. George Kittle, absolutely insane. And then New England, Ramondre Stevenson fumbled again.
Yeah, he's really
13 for 43, 4 for 19. Watch out for Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
I hate to hop back on that bus. We've been on that ride before, but he hit a 50-yard catch, 3 for 67 through the air. He was 6 for 12 on the ground, but like Jared Mayo's come out and said, like, hey, if Ramondre's ball security becomes an issue, like we're going to get Gibson more involved. If he's out there, throw some fab dollars at Antonio Gibson, because at least he's providing juice in the passing game. Like Ramondre was only 4 for 19 through the air.
Mm-hmm. They got Miami next week, so that's the big game for Ramondre, I think. Like, they have a real chance to just run the ball down Miami's throat and hold the ball, time of possession the hell out of Miami. So we'll see what happens next week if Ramondre has another letdown week.
Yeah. Miami hasn't led a single second this year.
It's insane.
Yeah. Jalen
They got that dub, though.
Great to see him with 7 targets, but 3 for 30. It's the Jacoby Brissett's time has to be coming to an end soon. I get it. The line's bad, but you can't keep putting this dude out here because, I
agree.
He's not playing any sort of pro football. He's horrible. I don't know. I don't see him lasting more than 3 more weeks before it's Drake May's time.
When's their bye? Well, week 14.
I think May will be in before that.
I agree. I don't think Brissett makes it.
Throw him in against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's bad.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Week 7 versus Jacksonville, or even week 8 versus Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's got a strong defense, though.
Yeah, but I'm still confident.
Yeah. Las Vegas, they beat Cleveland 20-16. Browns are 1-3. Vegas 2-2. Did you see the thing about Antonio Pierce liked a post on Instagram about how Davante Adams played his last snap? Yeah. And then Davante Adams was on Kay Adams' show, and she said something about, I hope you see Coach today or tomorrow. He's just like, yeah, I hope I talk to him too. It's just like, oh boy. But the quarterback play in Vegas is terrible. 14 for 24 for 130 for Gardner Minshew.
Reports. I'm cutting you off about Adams. There's reports that Vegas has called multiple teams seeing if they're interested in Adams. And apparently they're willing to trade him for a second. So I expect Adams to 100% expect Adams to be gone within 2 to 3 weeks. I honestly think the Chiefs are calling, dude.
They should. Yeah.
100%.
That's the next game, but we'll see. Now, Rashee Rice looks like he's going to be out for the year.
Yeah.
Possible torn ACL, but Vegas, Trey Tucker looked good.
Mm-hmm.
5 grabs for 41. He had a rushing touchdown. Jacoby Myers had 10 targets, 5 for 49.
Both those guys need to be rostered, especially with Adams possibly being traded.
Yeah.
If Adams gets traded, Tucker's a start. So is Myers is fine, even with Adams there. So go make sure both those guys are on rosters in leagues.
Yeah, they spent a 2nd-round pick on Tucker, so high, decent draft capital, and he's looked good. And he was a project coming in. They drafted him early, but he came on last year. At the end of the year, he started showing some juice, and he's looked good so far this year. Mm-hmm. Brock Bowers, only 3 targets for 2 for 19, 1 carry though for 12, but
back-to-back games.
The passing game in Vegas, they need to get rid of Minshew. It needs to be Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah. I don't think O'Connell's going to be a huge upgrade per se, but if Adams ends up getting traded, there's going to be these targets that go around to Tucker, Myers, and Bowers, where all guys are going to be quote for quote fine fantasy wise, but I don't think they're going to be good in real life.
Well, yeah, and it also doesn't help that Vegas can't run the ball. Zamir White 17 for 50, horrendous. Fumble. Yeah, McAllister, Alexander Madison 5 for 60, which is his best game. No touchdown though, and that's
no tutty upset.
He's not getting a tutty. He's useless.
Yep.
And then Cleveland, they're activating Nick Chubb, so keep an eye on him. If he's out there, snag him up. But Jerome Ford looked good again, 10 for 58, 7 grabs for only 27 yards. But it was his backfield. Deonta Foreman didn't touch it. Amari Cooper, 4 for 35. Jerry Jeudy, 6 for 72. Jerry Jeudy should be rostered. We brought him up a few weeks ago. But at this point, he should be on teams going forward. He's getting involved, and Deshaun Watson's terrible though. He's so bad at football now.
Yeah, but they got Washington next week, so I'm really confident starting Ford for sure. There's no reason they're not using him in the pass game. every single week. He should have 5 to 6 catches. I don't understand why Cleveland's dumb and I don't know what they're doing. But like Ford, I'm starting. Cooper, I'm happily starting. I think he's in for another huge week. And Jerry Jeudy, I'm confidently starting Jerry Jeudy next week. He's had 3 of the 4 weeks double digits. And the week he didn't, he played in 90% of the snaps. He had 9 points. He's a really good receiver. Like, even back to his college days, he went to Bama. He was a first-round pick. We talked about him earlier. He was drafted above Justin Jefferson. Yeah. So I'm cool with Jerry Jeudy starting next week, especially versus Washington.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, 24 for 32, 176, 1 touchdown interception. They had that 4th down play at the end of the game, and he just couldn't get the ball. Like, I don't know what he was doing.
He's bad. Like, that's what he's doing.
You get you're stuck with him because of the contract, but
not after some point he's gone.
You're gonna have to put Jameis Winston in.
You would like to see it, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. But Deshaun Watson should not be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns next year. No. I would confidently say he's not gonna be, but it's Cleveland, so we'll see what the fuck they do.
Yeah. Kansas City Chiefs, they improved to 4-0. They're the only other undefeated team with Minnesota. 17-10 victory over the Chargers. I think if the Chargers were fully healthy, if Joey Bosa was healthy, if Joe Alt played, I think they beat the Chiefs.
This game specifically, yes. I don't know what the Chiefs were really weird this game. They're rushing. Yeah, this game, yeah. They have the rushing game. Like Kareem Hunt is back in Kansas City, and he is, I guess, their starting running back because Steele fumbled.
Yep, Steele fumbled. He was 2 for 6, 1 catch with the fumble, and then P. Ryan was 5 for 14. He had a touchdown, but Kareem Hunt had a little juice, 14 for 69. But Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's projected back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that backfield's muggy. Like you can move on from Carson Steele, you can move on from P. Ryan. Hunt's worth rostering. I would also pick up Clyde. I think he eventually ends up taking the role for 2 or 3 weeks until Pacheco's back.
Hunt should be rostered for sure. Go get him on the waiver wire this week. I would hold Carson Steele 1 more week just in case. Just see how this week goes with everybody in the lineup. But then after this, I'm not starting him, but I'm holding him on the bench. And then Clyde, you have to watch. Like if you want to get the jump on Clyde, pick him up this week, and you don't have to worry about missing out on if he has a huge game and then it's spending a ton of fab on him. So if you want to get the jump, get Clyde now before next week on the possibility, just the possibility of him having a huge game. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but him or Kareem Hunt's probably going to be the leading back next week.
Yeah, we brought it up last game. Rashee Rice looks like he's going to be out for the season. Yeah. It's a shame because he's been the focal point of this offense. Like Patrick Mahomes has just been fine, like not fantasy fine, but 19 for 29, 245, a touchdown and an interception, 12 on the ground. Xavier Worthy, 3 for 73 and a touchdown. And then, it's Travis Kelce. He finally had a big game, 7 for 89 with Rashee Rice out. I think this is Travis Kelce. He's the only
Is there a chance Rice doesn't miss the year?
I don't know.
Like, because they're like not announcing any information until next week. Usually when guys tear stuff, it's usually out like the next day. But they're going to be running more tests and there'll be more information out next week. I think there's a chance that this isn't as bad as it seems, and they just have to see the severity of what it did happen. But he is ruled out for next week. But other than that, there's, I guess, a slim chance he's not missing the whole year. I think it would have been announced by now if he did tear something. It usually comes out like the next day.
Yeah, maybe it's like an MCL thing like JJ McCarthy had.
Yeah,
whereas like maybe he can avoid surgery. Yeah, who knows? But if you have an IR spot, slide him on there, and if you don't,
just watch out what happens.
Eat that roster spot, but while he's out, Travis Kelce's the only reliable option. Like you're going to start Xavier Worthy, but he can have a bust game. Like that's just his type of.
I agree. There's a chance that they should start using Juju a ton. Like he's been out there a bunch this season already, so it wouldn't surprise me if he gets a little bit of an elevation because like these receivers aren't that good. Like they're going to use Watson. They always use Watson when their receivers are down.
Sky Moore had 2 targets.
That guy's a bum, though. So is Juju, but they trust Juju
had no
more
targets.
than Sky Moore.
Mikhail Hardman had no targets.
That's
Sky Moore had 2. I actually think it'll be the tight ends. Noah Gray had 4 targets. He was 4 for 40.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelce, like we said, I think he becomes the focal point again of the offense. And then the Chargers, they want to run the ball, but they're the least efficient run team right now, according to PFF.
You can officially move on from Gus Edwards.
Yes, you could drop Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins, you're not thrilled with the last couple of games for him. 14 for 32, 3 for 30, but you're hanging on to him. Herbert looked okay, but, he's dealing with his ankle injury, so it affected most of the receiving crew. Like Quentin Johnson, only 1 catch for 9 yards, but he did have 5 targets. Ladd McConkey looked great, 5 for 67 and a touchdown. He finally had a playable game based off his, compared to the other weeks, sans his first week.
Yeah, even if he didn't have a touchdown, you're still happy with the 5 for 67. Yeah. So you add the touchdown in there, you're happy with the 17.7 for sure. It's not going to be sustainable though. Like you've seen it with huge flux games. Like there's only going to be one receiver at a time on this team with probably 15 or more points a week. So is it going to be Ladd? Is it going to be huge? It's probably never going to be Josh Palmer. So keep that in mind.
I think Josh Palmer's going to have your floor plays. He's going to be 3 for 30 every week.
I agree. And it was a joke. Like obviously there will be a week where Palmer gets in the end zone and he has a good week, but I would rather the other two. But I'm not honestly. Huge and Palmer, you got a bye week next week, and then you have Denver after that. Like Huge, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be starting the next 2 weeks. So if you want to hold on to him,
I don't think Quentin Johnston gets the Surtain treatment. I don't think he gets Surtain on him.
I think he does. It's not going to be Ladd. I think Huge is the number one.
I think it'll be Palmer. I think Palmer's been lining up as the one, and I think that's where they're just going to put.
That's not good.
Baltimore stomped Buffalo. Ugly game for the Bills. It was 35-10 Baltimore. Ravens improved to 2-2. Bills fall to 3-1. Derrick Henry had an 87-yard touchdown, his first carry of the game. The third longest carry of his career. Fell 1 yard short of 200 rushing yards for the game. 24 for 199, a touchdown. 3 catches for 10 yards and a touchdown. The 87-yard run?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand how he's faster than all these guys.
He hit 21 miles per hour, maybe.
Yeah, but he looked like an ogre.
That's because he's 6'4" and 250
I get it, but like the other guys were fast. Like the other guys looked fast, but they just couldn't catch this guy casually jogging down the sideline. Like it was so weird to watch.
Derrick Henry might be like the last running back to go into the Hall of Fame for a long time. And Christian McCaffrey, but it all depends on who retires first.
I was going to say, like, McCaffrey's got more seasons if he wants to be a Hall of Famer. Like, he needs to keep it up, and it's not looking like he is.
I think McCaffrey could retire, say he's a Hall of Famer.
That's rough. I don't know.
But Derrick Henry might be like if you look at all the running back, like Ezekiel Elliott is the closest running back to 10,000 yards among active guys.
Yeah.
And he's got 8,000. And then it's Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones at 6,000.
Yeah. I mean, Derrick Henry's just a different guy.
Yeah, an absolute monster. And then Justice Hill had a nice game too. He had 6 grabs for 78 yards and a touchdown.
He should probably be like low end rostered, right?
Yeah, especially if Derrick Henry gets hurt. And in games the Ravens are losing, he's going to be on the field more.
That is true.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, good game, 13 for 18, 156, 2 touchdowns. Had another touchdown on the ground. He did fumble, but those are the games you want from Lamar. Efficient passing numbers and a lot of touchdowns, and that's when he's at his best. The receivers and tight ends in Baltimore are just not great. Zay Flowers had 2 targets, 1 for 10. Bateman was 1 for 23. Mark Andrews had another goose egg. Isaiah Likely was 1 for 26. Like, you're not comfortably starting any of those guys at this point.
I agree.
And then Buffalo, like, in games they get down, then they want to run the ball. But Baltimore locked this team down. Josh Allen was the line wasn't holding up, and he was constantly under pressure. He fumbled, 180 yards, couldn't get anything going on the ground, only 20 rushing yards, 180 through the air. James Cook was 9 for 39. What?
The whole team looked off.
Oh,
Buffalo.
Yeah. 9 for 39 for Cook, 1 catch. Khalil Shakir, 4 for 62. He had a nice big play. He set the record for most consecutive targets caught. He broke Michael Thomas's record. He caught 29 straight targets.
Weird.
So, efficient hands there, Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman was 3 for 51. Like, I think those are the only 2 guys you're rostering from the receivers. And then Kincaid, 100%. 5 for 47. He had a nice little game. They're still trying to get him involved. It just hasn't fully come together. I'm still comfortably starting Dalton Kincaid.
You have to. Tight ends are weak. Kincaid's still fine. You'll happily take almost 10 points.
But I think Khalil Shakir's almost just a flex play in PPR leagues. Like every week, you're slotting him in.
He's had double digits every single week this year in PPR weeks. So, and like you said, like he's only not caught one of his targets. He went 3 for 3 week 1, 5 for 5, 6 for 6, 5 for 4. So like every ball that's getting thrown his way, even if it's short, it's a point. Like he's a really good flex 4 in PPR for sure.
Yeah, he's the Steph Diggs of this offense right now. He's working the middle. Yep. He's the safety blanket for Josh Allen.
Keon Coleman had 2 really, really nice back shoulder catches where Allen hit him perfectly on the sideline. We need to see that more in the red zone.
Yeah. He also had one that he dropped that could have been a touchdown, but they're stretching they're trying to stretch the field with him, so it's nice to see
they'll get there.
Keon Coleman, and Curtis Samuel, you can move on from him. He shouldn't be rostered. Tennessee, Miami, Monday night, yawn 31-12.
How do we feel about Zay Flowers though? Like I know we talked about him a little bit. Like he's so inconsistent, dude.
Yeah.
Now 2 weeks in a row where he's under 6 points, like
I'll flex him in a good matchup, but I'm not looking at playing him.
I agree. I think he's definitely benchable, matchup based.
Yeah. Miami, Tennessee wins. They moved to 1-3. Miami falls to 1-3, 31-12. This game was not good. Will Levis got hurt.
Yeah,
he did throw another interception. And Mason Rudolph
my God, I didn't even see he had a turnover and he got hurt. That's crazy.
Then Mason Rudolph came in. He was 9 for 17 for 85. Tyler Huntley couldn't get it going for Miami. 14 for 22, 96. He did have a 96 through the air. He had 40 rushing yards and a touchdown and a fumble. But I think the more time Huntley spends in the offense, he'll adjust and get better. He's at least a competent pro. Like, he should start going forward. It shouldn't be Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, I agree. He overshot Tyreek, which doesn't happen very often, but he overshot him on an easy touchdown, and then he undershot him as well. But that just falls the time. Like, they don't have enough time yet under the belt with each other.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know Tyler Huntley was there until last week when we recorded and we reviewed the game, that he was probably starting. But it affected the whole offense. Devon Achane couldn't get it going. 10 for 15. He only had 3 catches for 14 yards. Raheem Mostert didn't play again. Tyreek, 4 for 23. He did have 3 carries for 19. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 36. Like, you're not benching either of those guys, but you got to, temper your expectations because they should be low at this point. But I do think Tyler Huntley gives them the best chance to be fantasy relevant. And then the Tennessee running backs looked great. Tony Pollard, 22 for 88. He had a touchdown. He had a 41-yard run, 2 for 20 through the air. Tyjae Spears had a rushing touchdown through the Wildcat formation, 15 for 39. He did have 2 grabs as well. And then the Tennessee passing game, just credit that to Will Levis getting hurt. I wouldn't be trying to move away from Calvin Ridley or DeAndre Hopkins.
He's had 2 really bad weeks in a row.
Calvin Ridley?
Yeah. He had 1.9 last week, and then this week he had 2.5, and then they got a bye this week. So I'm not saying move on from him, but
keep an eye on
he's matchup based for sure.
Yeah. I think this week was just all because of Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, what about last week with Green Bay? Will Levis was out there.
Yeah, he had a bad game.
Yeah,
that one I can't come up with a reason, but this one there's a clear reason.
Oh yeah, Mason Rudolph's dog shit.
Yeah.
Like Will Levis is a turnover machine, but he's a competent quarterback.
Yeah,
compared to Mason Rudolph. Like Mason Rudolph's dog shit.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph's the guy you want being your backup.
Sure.
He looked good
There's
for
a
Pittsburgh.
handful of guys I'd rather out there.
Yeah. And final Monday night game, Detroit 42.
Let's quick swing back to Miami. When do you got to start questioning Mike McDaniel? He's got to start switching up something. Like, you haven't led a single NFL game yet this year.
Yeah, something's like. The problem is he's running the same offense as he would with Tua.
That's a bad coach.
Yeah, he's not adjusting, and he's always done that. Like, for as innovative as he is, he's innovative enough that the offense he runs works, but it only works with Tua, with the pieces that he has. Like, get yourself a backup quarterback who can run the offense like Tua.
Yeah, if you're going to do it that way, you have to do that.
I don't know why you're not doing that. And maybe now with Tyler Huntley, he'll run things a little differently because Tyler Huntley's got a little juice. He can run a bit. He can move around. But
Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, McDaniel, it is worrisome for how innovative he is per se. Whereas like Matt LaFleur, same coaching tree. Matt LaFleur loses Jordan Love and he changes his offense. It makes Malik Willis look competent.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Like Green Bay and Miami are both they went through the same thing. Like, they're both elite offenses and they both lost their starting quarterback. Green Bay went in there with Malik Willis, who is way, way worse than Skylar Thompson. I'm sorry. Skylar Thompson had a really good playoff game. He's looked good in the game before. Malik Willis has never looked good in the game ever. Not once.
No.
And he came out here and had 2 really good weeks with a really good coach. Miami has looked horrendous.
They always
all
have
season
without Tua.
It's just something to keep it. Like, I love Mike McDaniel, but it's something you got to watch. Like, come on, dude. Like, an elite coach would have switched up something by now. You haven't led a single minute in the NFL this year.
Yeah. Even Kevin O'Connell came from the McVay tree. And last year they lost Kirk Cousins, and the offense was fine with Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah. Seattle, Detroit. Seattle no longer undefeated. They lost 42-29. Detroit 3-1. Jared Goff finally had the game. Big game for Goff. He was 18 for 18.
Perfect.
292 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had a receiving touchdown.
Crazy play.
Amon-Ra, a good game from him. He had the passing touchdown, but 6 grabs for 45 yards and another touchdown. Jameson Williams, 2 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. You're happy with that just because of the big play saved you. And then the running backs in Detroit just continue to produce. Jahmyr Gibbs, 14 for 78, 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery, 12 for 40, 1 touchdown. Did you see him fucking body that Seahawks corner?
Yeah.
And one catch for 40 yards.
Plays.
Like,
he's looking so good this year.
But
speaking of running backs,
the Seattle offense was great. Geno Smith, he's just out here throwing dimes. 395 yards. He had a touchdown. Did have an interception. Ken Walker, whatever Seahawks running back is starting, they're an RB1. Ken Walker, Detroit, you can't run on them. And he just went 12 for 83 tutties.
Yep.
He was also involved in the pass game, 4 for 36. Charbonnet PPR'd his way to a good game, 5 catches for 39 yards.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf, 7 for 104. Njigba, my start of the week, was 8 for 51. Not great, but you'll be fine with that. And Tyler Lockett got involved, 5 for 61. It's crazy that all these Seahawks had just great games, and they looking at the score, they got blown out.
AJ Barner had a touchdown too.
Yeah,
they had touchdowns that went around. All their guys performed. It's just that they has had the team drop 42 points on them. Scoring 29 points is really nice in the NFL. It just sucks that you went against Detroit's offense, dude. Defense. Detroit's offense is out of this world. And then they have a really good defense too. They're here, dude.
They're a good football team. In Seattle, I wouldn't be worried about the loss. Geno Smith,
a really good team.
I think Geno Smith is a low-end QB1, pretty much. I think you can start him almost every week.
100%.
Seattle's willing to pass the ball. This is a good football team.
Yeah. He's been a QB1 every week except week 3. He was QB21. He had a down week. He did have almost 300 passing yards, though. Geno's a really good start fantasy-wise. They got the Giants next week.
Yeah, you guys should have never got rid of Geno Smith.
Can't even look at it like that way. Now, fuck that guy. I'm pretty sure that guy took over Eli's starting career. That fucking bum.
That was Ben McAdoo, Bob, whatever his name is.
The fucking idiot. That's what it was.
Before we preview Thursday Night Football power rankings, who are your top 5 teams in the NFL?
Where am I starting? 5 or 1?
Yeah, go 5-1.
5-1. 5. I have Buffalo. I still am not taking anything away from Buffalo's last week. They lost to a really good team in Baltimore. Like Baltimore's week 1 looked really good against Kansas City, and they looked amazing last week versus Buffalo. They had a good win over Dallas too. So like Baltimore is a really good team, and that's why I have them ranked 4. I have them above Buffalo because they killed Buffalo, so I couldn't theoretically put Buffalo above them. Both teams in the AFC have looked really, really good though. Next 2 teams are from the NFC though. I have Detroit at 3, and then I have Minnesota at 2.
My God, we're gonna have the same top 5.
That's funny. We didn't even talk about this, so that's funny. I have Minnesota 2 just based off record, but you guys in Detroit are the far front runners for the NFC. Philly has looked a little bit washed. Dallas is a whole bunch of question marks. San Fran is riddled with injuries. And then 1, I got Kansas City. They're 4-0.
Yeah. They're
Kansas City. I get they lost Rashid Rice, but I'm not going to question them until I actually see something to question.
Yeah.
They lost Rashid Rice. Kelsey came in with 7 for 90. So.
Yeah. Yeah, this Chiefs team is beatable, but
100%.
They're also not going to lose a game on their own doing. I had Buffalo 5. I had Baltimore 4. I had Minnesota and Detroit switched. I have Minnesota 3, Detroit 2. I think if Minnesota and Detroit would play today, I think Detroit would win. And I have Kansas City 1.
I think it would be really close, though, with you guys. I think you guys would split 50-50.
Yeah. I think the NFC North has 3 top 6 teams. Green Bay's my 6.
I also wanted to figure out how to pick Green Bay. I'm like, Green Bay's really good.
Yeah, I would have like Green Bay
Houston's
6,
also
Houston 7, and then Washington 8. Or Tampa. I would have Tampa.
I was going to say, you got to bring Tampa up. Yeah, I would have Tampa above Washington. Yeah, we have that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Washington 9, and then probably Seattle at 10.
Pittsburgh.
I think Seattle would beat them. I do.
I like Pittsburgh's defense more than Seattle's.
I like Seattle's offense more than.
Oh, 100%. That's not even a question. But defense wins championships, my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, almost the same top 10.
Yeah.
All right. Thursday night football. It is the Bucs and the Falcons. Let's see if I can, because I'm unprepared. I don't have any lines up.
Atlanta is favored. I know that.
You're going to start your Bucs, right? You're going to start.
Yeah, I'm starting Baker. I'm starting White. I'm starting Godwin. I'm starting Evans. Bucky is a flex option, and Kate Otten is someone to watch tight end wise. Like tight ends are bad if you need to start one of them. Kate Otten had a nice week. 2 weeks in a row. He had 9 points.
He's always on the field.
Exactly, yeah. The dude is constantly on the field. I get week 1 and 2 were rough, but week 1 and 2 they're like test weeks. You can't really base a fantasy season off week 1 and 2. So going forward, he had 9 points week 3. He had 11 week 4, and he has a really good matchup against Atlanta. So.
Yeah. Falcons are favored 1.5 points, over under a 43.5. From Atlanta, you're obviously starting Bijan. You're not putting that guy on your bench.
You have to.
Desperate. If you're desperate, I would flex Tyler Algier. Bucks struggle against the run, but Vita Vea is back, so I'd be wary of that. You're starting Drake London. Darnell Mooney is a flex option, and then Kyle Pitts. I mean, I guess you're playing him, but. Hey, I mean, Dallas Goedert had a nice game, but he was the only option in Philadelphia. But who knows? Maybe Kyle Pitts can go out there. Yeah.
I'm gonna veer away from starting Ray McLeod this week just because it's a Thursday game. I really don't. Yeah. I get if you have to start him, but find someone on Sunday to play. It's not worth putting him in right now.
I'll give you a situation I'm looking at. Do I start Bucky Irving this week in our home league?
Over. This isn't Ray McLeod related.
No, it's a Thursday player related.
Yeah.
So Tony Pollard's my running back, but he's on a bye. So I have Bucky Irving on Thursday. I have the Alligator Man, Carson Steele on Monday, but I would rather play Bucky.
I would start Bucky.
I have the mystery of Raheem Mostert.
Bucky.
And then Rico Dowdle against Pittsburgh.
Oh, bad matchup. I would go Bucky on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
you really don't want to start like like borderline flex guys on Thursday, but sometimes you have to, and just hope he balls out, dude.
Yeah.
It's a good matchup.
It is. So,
who you picking?
I'm picking Tampa.
As am I. I also have Tampa locked in on my pick.
Yeah.
Who are you? You are currently ahead of me by a point. You have 36 on the year. I have 35. Right?
Yeah. Another Kirk Cousins primetime game, though. That's 3 this year.
He's looked really good in the last 3 or 4 primetime games. I think he's 3-0 or 4-0. But I think he falls this week to Tampa.
I think it's gonna be a good game. I think they hit the over. I think they go over 43.5. I think this is gonna be a good fantasy game too.
I agree.
I think Drake London. If we would do a Thursday start of the week, I think he'd be my guy.
Chris Godwin would be my Thursday night start of the week.
Yeah, but yeah, you're gonna start your guys. Kyle Pitts though, that one's the tough one.
Dude, man, yeah, yep, he's rough. Coming from me,
Kyle Pitts or Cade Otton.
Cade Otton.
Okay, I would start Kyle Pitts.
The last 2 weeks, Cade Otton's had 9.7 and 11.6. Dude, that's Kyle Pitts' ceiling pretty much.
Yeah.
And Cade Otton's done it back-to-back weeks. Kyle Pitts hasn't done that. He can't put back-to-back weeks together.
Maybe we just have to start worrying that Kyle Pitts just isn't good at football.
Nah. Nope. Not this guy. Nah.
All right. That'll do it. Drafted Up Podcasts. We're out of here. You can follow us over on Twitter at @draftedup_pod. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. Drafted Up Podcasts. Search us. We'll be there. Or youtube.com/@draftedup_pod. All right, guys. Adios. We'll see you guys Thursday as we break down week 5 matchups. The confetti falls for you visual watchers.
I missed it. Damn.
Yeah. All right. Adios, guys. Appreciate y'all. Tell a friend.
Word of mouth, baby. Bye.